Okay, before we put the crankshaft in, there's one thing I wanted to do. Well, there's a few things that we might as well get done on the crankcase before we put the crankshaft in. It's just easier. So I've put the oil pressure switch in. I'm just about to fit the drain plug for the gearbox, and I've already put the two plugs in for the oil ways at the front of the crankcase. Just check you can see that. Yeah. And then, so I've just stood the casing up on some blocks, hopefully. That's what I thought I had. There we go. Don't we? There we go. Come on. I knew I shouldn't have moved it. Okay. I think that's okay. And we're going to put on the sump plate on. But what we're doing on this one, we're fitting an uprated sump plate, which has got a drain plug fitted. Okay, they're from LP Williams, as you can see. I don't know if anyone else makes them. So the idea is that you can drain the oil out of the sump without taking the sump plate off. To be honest, on my T160, I can't do that because the exhaust is actually too close to the plug. But on everyone else's bike, it's not. So, you know, there's probably something that's wrong with my bike. So I have to take the exhaust pipe off. It's still easier on mine. I have to take the centre exhaust pipe off, and then I can get to that drain plug. But on most T160s, apparently you can get to them, and on a T150, you should be able to get to it because you haven't got the four pipes that you have got on the T160. So we've also got the filter. The filter goes in the top, and we've got the hole here. Can we see that? The pipe here, that's the pickup pipe. Can we see that? That's the pickup pipe for the picks the oil up out of the sump and pumps it back to the tank. So what we've got is a gas. We're going to have a gasket. Then we've got the filter, and that's got the hole that fits over that pipe. Then we've got another gasket that goes on top of the filter, and then we've got the sump plate. Now on this plate and on the originals, half the plate is higher than the other. Now, and the lower part, the dish part of the plate goes over that. It goes this way, so it doesn't go that way. So that sort of where the oil will sit aligns with the pump, so towards the rear of the engine. And you'll find on the original sump plates that's also dished, so that it goes to the rear. So what we're going to do is we've got our well seal. So I'm going to put well seal on the mating surfaces. So I've got my little brush, and I'll put that on. Oh, I think I've already mentioned probably in a previous video, have I, that I've replaced the two of the studs on here, as you can see, these two, because these studs do wear out quite a lot, because over the years people have taken the sump plate off, where the original sump plate of course hasn't got that drain plug in it. So the only way of getting the oil out of the sump is to take the sump plate off. So I find that these studs are often in poor condition because of the people taking the sump plate off continually over, as they change the oil, etc. And I also think people probably do over tighten these a bit. I'm not sure. There's certainly a weak point, these studs. I don't think I've done a bike where one of these studs hasn't need replacing, and sometimes all of them need replacing. Right, so we're doing that. I'll just finish off doing this, and then I'm going to do the same on all the other mating faces. So there we go. So that's just painted on with our little brush, craft brush. And then I'm going to carry on. I'm going to coat both sides of the filter, and then I'll coat the mating side of the actual sump plate, so that every mating face has got some well seal on. We don't coat the actual gaskets. we just coat the actual metal. Right, so I'll go off camera for a bit, and I'll just coat these with well seal as well. Then I'll leave it, you just leave it 10 minutes or so. The well seal kind of goes off slightly, just goes a bit tacky. You just need to leave it 10 minutes before you actually do the final assembly. So I'm going to carry on, I'll do these, and then I'll come back on camera in a minute. Okay, so I've put the well seal on all the mating surfaces, and just by the by, I've got this cleaner, solvent cleaner. It's for heavy duty PVC cleaner. I think it's cellulose. I think it's cellulose based, I'm not sure. But that's the only solvent for cleaning off well seal. So white spirit won't touch it. I think it's cellulose, but I use this. You get it from double glazing places. Okay, pretty vile stuff that will send you fairly high pretty quickly, but that's the only stuff that will get rid of well seal. Right, so we got those. So the first thing we want is a gasket. Doesn't matter which way up the gasket goes. Just feed that on over the studs. Trying desperately not to rip the gasket, so we feed it on bit by bit over the different studs. There we go. Then we've got our gauze filter, which of course has been cleaned, and the hole obviously goes over the pickup pipe towards the rear of the engine. There you go, just sits in like that. Then we've got the second gasket. And gently feed that, hopefully, down over the studs. Come on, don't you dare tear on me. Come on, get down there. There you go. Yeah. Okay, and then we've got the actual sump plate, and as we say, the dish to the rear, so it goes aligns with the pickup pipe. There we go. And get rid of some of that. Something's coming at the door. Get rid of that stuff off my well seal off my fingers, because it's really sticky stuff. It's great, you know, but when you get it on yourself or on anything else, it's a nightmare. Washers. And nylon nuts. Okay, because this is the aftermarket sump plate, it's a bit thicker than the original, and so I was just going to use a open-ended ring spanner to tighten these up, but I can't get to them properly because of the plate, because it's thicker. So start, there you go, and then finish them off by hand. I think we're about there. Yeah. Okay, and then we've got the sump plug with a washer. I'm going to put, I think I'm going to put a bit of well seal yeah, I'm going to put a bit of well seal on the sump plug, because when I find it, in my mind the answer is well seal. What's the question? So I just want to make sure the seals. I could put some locking stuff on, you know, like a Loctite, but I think that on balance, a bit of well seal is probably a bit better. And it's got, and of course this sump plug has got this magnetic tip on, which is nice, so that when you drain your oil, you can always see what, you can see what's there. Or if I put a bit on this gearbox plug while I'm doing it, you can see what, you know, how much stuff is there, and B, it takes off any filings and that are you know, taken by that magnet during use, so they're not being circulated around the engine. So while the bike is being ridden, any little iron filings or whatever are going to stick to that magnet and stop it wearing the engine. B, when you do change oil, you know, you can see exactly what's there, and if there's any nasty things happening inside the engine. Of course, it's a magnet, so it won't show any alloy bits that are there, but any bits of ferrous metal will obviously stick to the magnet, and it's ferrous bits you really want to worry about. Well, obviously you don't want any metal that's yeah, any filings and that. Sometimes you pull them out and there's, like, you know, that sort of like a church spire on top of iron filings, which isn't great. Okay, there we go. Not sure what size that is. 5/8 is it, or bigger? No, it's a 5/8 here. I think that's probably been long enough. And so from now on, when the oil needs changing, it's just a question of removing that sump plug. And then, well, obviously you've got to drain the oil from the oil tank, which is a pain on a Trident. Tighten it, but I certainly don't want to over tighten it. Yeah, draining the oil from the oil tank on a Trident is a bit of a nightmare, because the drain hole where the oil tank, the drain plug in the oil tank is right above the just above one of the frame members. So if you're not careful, the oil just runs down. Yeah, that's 5/8 as well. The oil will just run down and sort of hit the frame and just go everywhere. Yeah, that's pretty tight, because I don't anticipate draining the gearbox oil anytime soon. Right, okay, I think that's about it now. So in terms of preparation for the crankcase, before we put the crankshaft in, we've got the gearbox drain plug in, we've got the oil pressure switch in, we've got the sump plate on, because I'm fitting the crankcase with all 3 con rods on. Obviously, if I was going to fit 2 outer con rods and then do the centre one up later, then you put this on at the end. I've got the 2 plugs for the oil ways. We've got the needle roller bearing in for the end of the lay shaft, and we've got the output bearing in for the gearbox main shaft. So, I mean, all those things, well, it's a bit awkward doing that, but most of these things you could do after you put the crankshaft in and with the crankcases together. but obviously it's just easier doing things like now without other bits in the way. So I mean, you putting those two bearings in, you want to put those in really now. The other bits and bobs you can add later. Obviously it's just easier doing it when you can move things around pretty easily on the bench. Okay, so the crankshaft is the crankcase, centre crankcase, I think, is now ready to accept the crankshaft. Okay, yep, leave it there for now.